Hello, it's Glenn Depke, and welcome to your next Menopause Morning. Typically, I do these videos live, but I'm actually traveling this morning. So, this is a recording of a video that will be very helpful for you because this is really all about how to prevent menopause symptoms. Now, what I mean by this is, well, number one, there are two menopause symptoms you can't avoid. And most women that I've seen over the decades in my clinic are very happy with these two symptoms. And the one symptom that you can't avoid is when you go from childbearing years into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal. Number one, you stop having monthly cycles. Most women are pretty excited about that at this point in your life. And the second symptom that you'll have is you no longer have the ability to conceive. And generally, when you reach an age of menopause, you're happy to not be conceiving anymore at this point. Now, the challenge though is that this is not what happens with most women. There's only about 10 to 15% of women who are, really make this transition from childbearing years into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal that are only dealing with those two symptoms. So what that means is the other 85 to 90% are dealing with much more difficult symptoms and generally suffering on significant levels. So this could include gaining quite a bit of weight. This could include hot flashes, mood swings. This could include insomnia, so you're just not sleeping as well. Because of that lack of sleep, you're significantly fatigued. Some level of brain fog or some brain and cognitive, challenges that you're having, and also leading into risk factors like osteoporosis or heart disease and cancers, and really the list goes on. And what I want you to recognize is that if you're not in perimenopause yet and you're still in childbearing years, you can actually prevent these other symptoms. Because in essence, when you think of your body, now when you're in childbearing years, your ovaries are producing about 2/3 of your estrogens and your progesterone, and your adrenals are responsible for your testosterone production. This is all in childbearing years. Now, the 2/3 of that, remember, is tied into your ovaries, but a third of it is actually produced in your adrenal glands. So a third of that estrogen, a third of that progesterone, and 100% of the testosterone is tied into adrenals. Now, when you make the transition from childbearing years into perimenopause, well, now some of that responsibility of the ovaries is now being shifted to the adrenals. So now your adrenals have the responsibility of the most significant production of your estrogen and progesterone, and still, significantly tied into all the production of your testosterone. Now, here's another thing that's important that most women aren't told. You're not taught this in school, and it's not a part of common wisdom with hormones and menopause, is that when you're in childbearing years, you're going to produce more estradiol than your body needs post childbearing. Like once you enter into perimenopause, you don't need the same level of estradiol. And that's because you're no longer having a monthly cycle and you can't conceive. Now, your adrenal glands, and let's just remember, your body is created and is designed perfectly, to just really go through this transition that we refer to as menopause. When you go from, again, the childbearing years into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal, and your body has the ability to just go through this transition with, again, those only two symptoms of no longer being able to conceive and you don't have a monthly cycle anymore. But it's really dependent on these two different areas of your body, which is your adrenals and your liver. Now, what's important to recognize when we talk about your estrogen specifically, remember your adrenals, once your adrenals take over production of estrogens, your adrenals are going to produce esterone. Now, the esterone then travels through your blood and goes to your liver. Now, once in your liver, if your liver is healthy, and that's the key thing, if your liver is healthy, your liver has the ability to convert that esterone into the needed estradiol and estriol for you to maintain your perfect hormonal balance tied into estrogens. So it's really how they both work collectively together. It's your adrenals, and I'll even go a little bit deeper. It's not just your adrenals. It's really how your brain, your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenals all work together. And tied into your liver doing its job as well. And if you can get all of this right, prior to entering perimenopause, well, that's something to celebrate because now that means that there's a higher likelihood you're going to be about a part of the 10 or 15% that only has the symptoms of no monthly cycle and you can't conceive anymore. Now, if you happen to be watching this video and you are a woman who's already in menopause or postmenopausal, and you recognize that you are dealing with these symptoms, I want you to recognize that the same information I'm giving here to prevent women who are in childbearing years from preventing the menopause symptoms, this is the same information you could use to really kind of turn back the clock and feel young again for yourself as well. And the thing that I really want you to see from a give you a little visual on this is really what's going on from a hormone perspective when you're going from childbearing years into perimenopause and then into menopause. And you can notice that the three most commonly recommended hormones, which are estrogens, progesterone, and testosterone, fall outside of that yellow circle that I have on the slide. And that yellow circle is on there because those are the most important parts of what's going on or aspects of what's going on hormonally in your body, tied again into how the brain, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenals are all working collectively together. And when we look at this, what's inside of there, number one is vitamin B5, specifically in the form of pantothenic acid. You see, pantothenic acid gets converted into an enzyme, a coenzyme specifically, and your body uses that coenzyme and your own production of cholesterol as the most notable raw materials to produce the very first hormone in your system, which is called pregnenolone. And think of pregnenolone as a mother hormone from which every other hormone is going to be converted from. Now, when we look at the different pathways, we have the one pathway going to the left where it goes from pregnenolone to progesterone, and then eventually cortisol and cortisone, recognizing cortisone is your natural anti-inflammatory hormone, and cortisol is your stress response hormone, but it also does play a role in just general health and balance. And to recognize you still need progesterone past childbearing years. You just don't need it in the same amount, and your adrenals are more than capable of handling that job. Now, the pathway that goes straight down, it goes from that mother hormone. That mother hormone is converted into DHEA. The DHA is eventually converted into testosterone, and then that testosterone eventually gets converted into estrogens. And so when your hormonal system, when your adrenal glands specifically are able to function at a high level as you transition from childbearing years into perimenopause, you don't miss a beat. You still manufacture all the hormones that you need for a different period and cycle in your life. And once your adrenals produce that estrogen, remember, if you have a healthy liver at this time, your liver will with ease convert that estrogen into the needed estradiol and estriol in your body, and you get to be a part of that 10 or 15%. Now, with that, the other thing I want you to really understand is it's not only about the adrenals and also the liver. You also have to work on understanding and uncovering what are the triggers for this in the first place. So let's just say hypothetically that your adrenals are not in good shape and your liver is compromised. Well, you have to think of, well, why is that an issue? Now, for some people, their adrenals are not in good condition entering this time of life because you've spent like literally probably the last 30 years of your life overworked, overwhelmed, and overstressed. And I recognize this. I've been working with women for a long time. I've looked at well over 8,000 test kits in my career, and this has been over the last 21 and a half years looking at hormones. And what I recognize on a regular basis is most women, and this could be you as well, the 30 years prior to entering perimenopause, you've spent again overworked, overwhelmed, and overstressed because you've spent your whole life like taking care of your children, taking care of your husband or significant other, taking care of your home, very often involved in your church or community. Oh, and you work a full-time job too, right? That's a difficult way to go through your last 30 years. So that's going to be a part of what's really gotten your adrenals in a compromised position. Now, outside of that, other triggers that I see commonly with the women that I work with could be things like food sensitivities, infections, most notably in the gut, toxicity, just to name a few of what could be going on. And then you also have to look at your liver. Because if your liver is challenged, you have to be thinking, well, why is my liver challenged? Are you consuming too much alcohol? Do you have a high level of toxins in your body that you're unaware of? Maybe would be heavy metals or environmental or chemical toxins. But these are the things that you want to uncover. And if you're still in childbearing years, please uncover them now, because it's even so much easier to prevent the negative symptoms that you refer to as menopause than it is to get into it and recover from that point. Yet, regardless of where you're at, whether you're in childbearing years or perimenopause or menopause or postmenopausal, you can either prevent or, as I mentioned earlier, you can turn back the clock and feel young again. Yeah. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to watch this video. If you have any questions about this, this particular video happens to be a recorded video. So if you have any questions about this, wherever you're consuming this video, just please leave me your comment or your question below, and I will address it personally. And then also, once this video is released, I will, underneath this, I will put a link where you could be a part of the Menopause Morning group. And by being a part of that group, you will get a recognition of what my next videos are going to be, reminders of when they're going to be happening live. So you can jump on here live and ask any comments, have any comments or questions that you want to ask live. And by becoming a part of this group, you actually get a copy of my book, The Fat, Fatigued, and Frustrated, which is the action steps that are essential for the basic fundamentals to begin your journey of either overcoming menopause symptoms you're dealing with right now or preventing this from happening in the future. So I look forward to your comments and questions. And please be sure to jump on this channel to see the future menopause mornings, which is typically 8 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday morning. So with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.